think we'll start. We've got a very full audience and it's a very large topic. Good afternoon, my name's John Latham. I'm Vice-Chancellor at Coventry University and I'd like to welcome you to this very key session, really, a very important and comprehensive topic that we're going to try and cover in quite a short period. So please do bear with us. We can't possibly cover the entire aspects of the skills that learners really need, but we're going to try our best in terms of what we do. We've got three very eminent speakers this afternoon. First of all, we've got Professor Mahad Ismail Aziz, who's the Director General, Department of Polytechnic Education, Ministry of Higher Education here in Malaysia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Then we've got David Cork, Director of Education and Skills Policy, the Association of Colleges in the UK. Welcome, David. And then finally, Dr. Mai Thi Kin Lan, who's Head of Department, Institute of Education Quality Assurance in Vietnam. So the format of the afternoon session is going to be relatively simple, but my biggest job is to try and keep everybody under control and on time. So each of the speakers are going to be given 10 minutes each to cover their topic. After they've spoken for 10 minutes, we're then going to have a 10-minute discussion on each of the tables around a question which we will pose at the end of their presentation. During those 10 minutes, the speakers will circulate around the room, listen to what you're saying. Then we'll go on to the second presentation, 10 minutes, then 10 minutes discussion related to that, then the third presentation, 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes discussion. And at the end, we'll summarize, probably take a couple of questions from the floor, but we'll make a few closing remarks. But the important thing at the end of the day is that we have a comprehensive ride through the different aspects of this very key conversation around what skills individual learners will need probably through their life as much as at a point in time. So I'll first of all introduce our first speaker, who's going to be Dr. Thi Kin Lan from Vietnam.
Hello, everyone. Yeah. I'm very happy that I'm the first presenter this afternoon. You have heard a lot during the yesterday and today about graduate after the university and the workplace and employabilities. Today in this session, my presentation, we present some theoretical concepts about the attributes and skills, particularly the transferable skills. We argue that it is most important for learners in a globalized world. Globalization brings and facilitates forces and we have visible and also invisible effects. For example, the flow of people, students, administrators, academic faculty, and the flows of media and messages and information and knowledge, flow of norms, idea, and policy. However, it also has the limitation in the diversification of language and culture, pedagogy, and scholarship. And for graduates who are in the current situation that they have chance to go to move across countries to learn, to study, and also to work. What is important for them to survive in such condition? First, I will touch the concept of graduate attributes. Here, Barrier, the professor in University of Sydney, he said that graduate attributes are understood as the qualities, skills, and understanding that a university community agrees its students should develop during the time with the institution. And however, that's no very common, only one concept about graduates. Many researchers have studied about this and they come to various explanations and model not quite different. But you can see that, for example, I put in this table some key models Barrier in 2006 have divided the graduate attributes into a 4-level framework, including level 1, the precursory. These are things that students should be prepared before they enter the universities, like numbering or literacy. But at level 2, complementary, that are useful additional skills that complement or round out graduates' discipline knowledge. They are functional, atomic, personal skills. And level 3, the translation skill, include generic attributes as attributes that let graduates make use of or apply disciplinary knowledge, thus potentially changing and transforming their knowledge through application. And in this level, we can see that personal attributes, cognitive attributes, and skill of application. And the last one is a rather important one, the enabling skill that integrated in the learning outcomes. They are abilities that infuse and enable all scholar learning and knowledge. They are interwoven ability and attitudes for learning. The other one, the Bennett et al. In 2000, define skill into near and far transfer depending on the transfer process. They said that near transfer attribute involve fast automatization. The skills are identical in different task situations. So these skills can be applied in exactly or very similar context to the educational context. The other one, the far transfer attributes infuse and enable all scholarly learning and knowledge and transcend disciplinary boundaries, enable students to reshape and transform knowledge to meet the new challenges in context not similar to what they learn at the university and with their teachers. And it requires their conditional and deeper content knowledge, not just the surface one. And Bennett et al. Also compare it with low and high road transfer, which Perkins and Solomon have given the concept long time ago. And they say that low road is transfer is very similar to near transfer. That means it happened in a similar learning context. The high road transfer is mindful abstraction and require abstract comparing and contrasting the knowledge from the context of learning and application context. And these all are very similar to Arrow 2004 framework of a process of knowledge transfer. He divides the process into one is extraction potentially relevant knowledge from the context of its acquisition and previous use. The second is understanding the new situation. And the third one is recognizing what knowledge and skill are relevant. And the fourth one is transforming them into to fit the new situation. And the last one is integrating them with other knowledge and skill in order to think, act, and communicate with the new situation. So from this framework, I compare with the employer expectation from graduate. What do they want? Actually, in today's world of work, employer focus on the learning skill of the employees. They look for learning ability, and many researchers have explored it and approved. For example, Macklin and Ordonis in 2007 find out that the flexible skill, trainability skill, persuasive skill, and teamwork skill are the important one. And in Harvey et al. In 1997, he is a very well-known researcher in education, and he has many other researches. It says that proactive can use high-level skills, including analysis, critique, synthesis, and multi-layer communication to facilitate innovative teamwork in catalyzing the transformation of an organization. And York and Harvey in 2005 and find that adapt to the workplace, flexible in moving between different jobs, move one repertoire of knowledge onward are the one required much by the employer. So they give the definition of transferable skills. For example, Bennett et al. Said that transferable skills are the skills that are needed in any job and which enable people to participate in a flexible and adaptable workforce. The Fallow and Stevens also say that is a term common with education. The implication in that the skill developed within one situation are also useful when transferred into another situation, and Hai and Kim-Martin have the same, almost similar definition. And you can see that their concept, the definition of transferable skill are very comparable to the level 4 and some like level 3 in various framework and road process. They are very, very closely linked. And Bennett also said that there also did a very thoroughly research, and he said that there's no consensus in the academic literature regarding exactly which particular transferable personal skill are most and least important. So we cannot have a fixed list. For example, 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 skills are transferable, and you must obtain it, because you see in the table here from the literature review conducted by Bennett, you can see that many researchers have studied about these concerns, and they come to give some quite not very exactly the same result. But however, they come to some very similar things. First is about the adaptabilities, analysis, communication, initiative, IT skills, leadership, motivation, and numeracy and organizations. And you see in Hai and Kim-Martin research, they also come to the similar list of transferable skills. Problem solving, communication, learning skill, self-management, information skill, and teamwork. And they also give details of sub skills for this big heading. For example, in problem solving, they detail that analysis or lateral thinking or setting question, identifying strategy, evaluating success. So, in my opinion, the list provide the sub-list is very useful when so we want to explore the transferable skills that graduates should develop or require and should prepare before they enter the workforce. And so you can, when we compare the 3 group of authors, we see that not quite different. You see, Bennett have that list, and Hai have this list, and you can see that repeating is communication, problem or learning skill, or creative skills, and teamwork. So these transferable skills are very closely linked with graduate employability, which we have talked a lot during those sessions early this morning or yesterday. And we see that in the literature, they say there's no best way to examine the set of skills, and employer perception may play a key role in the definition of the required skill for graduates. And so I come almost to the end. So in Nye and York research, they developed the we call USEM model. That means initiative of USEM. U is understanding, S is skills for subject specific and generic, and E is efficacy beliefs and self-theories generally, and metacognition, including reflection. And why? Why? Because why agreement was only found on interpersonal skills, communications, and teamwork skills, which are relational skills. This can be explained by the fact that they are included in almost all categories, and more importantly, because they can observe directly. Employer can therefore easily observe and assess the relational skills. The other hard to observe skills are also required. Employers have always been concerned about the unobservable characteristic of job candidates. They often use third-party certification, like a higher education degree certification, for example, to ascertain that whether a job seeker is suitable for the position, and then consequently use education as a screening device to distinguish the more able from the less able applicant without incurring additional costs. My question raised here is what skills do learner really needs? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we're going to break now into discussion sessions at the table for about 10 minutes. I think some of the key elements there, of course, are about identifying what each party sees as the skills that are required, both from the individual and from the employer. I would just add one dimension in which I think is also quite key, is trying to deal with Generation Y and Generation Z individuals who are now coming through our systems and what they see as the key elements of their own career aspects, which means that actually they want continual development, they want a different psychological contract with the employer, and they want to actually look at what it is for them is the psychological contract means I want to make sure I'm working for organizations that recognize me and recognize the external world. So the skills mix is probably going to change over the next few years as much as it's changed over the last few years. So we'll break for 10 minutes. At your tables, please talk about what skills you feel both sides of the equation needs, and we'll come back together in about 10 minutes' time to pick that up. Thank you. Circulate a bit.
Yes.
No, we're all right. Don't worry, I'll keep it on. It's 3 minutes over, but we're all right. Okay. Okay, folks. Okay, colleagues. Hopefully we've obviously got some very interesting debate going on there. Sorry to break into it, but we have some quite restricted time. We'll have an opportunity to carry on discussions after the next speaker. So, with no wait, I'd now like to move on to our second speaker. Can I invite Professor Dr. Mohammed Ismail Ad Aziz to come forward and give his speech? Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I'm going to speak on what this topic is all about. And prior to that, I will present briefly about TVET in Malaysia and how Malaysia actually, we, Higher Education Malaysia, try to measure the skills that the students really need. And some of the skills are already mentioned in the discussion just now. Okay, briefly about TVET, we have about 141 institutions currently, 30,000, 15,000 staff, 85 programs, 65. Those are the institutions that I'm looking at. And these are the TVET system in Malaysia, technical base. We teach anything under the sun, from making your shoes to repairing aircraft, anything. But we want our graduates to be a good global citizen, highly employable, entrepreneurial, balanced. That's the word we use in Malaysia. Our institution have a good employability record, around 95%. So these are the industry-led component in the TVET Malaysia. We have lots of things like work-based learning, where the students spend 1 year or 1 year, more than 1 year in the industry working and all the programs have to meet the industry needs. 95% is the expectation of the ministry for our TVET program. Anything less than that, we are considered a failure. We have failed to meet the industry need. Every program must have certification by industry. We receive funding from industry, share technologies and facilities with the industry. For example, recently a crane operator in one of the ports, they want crane operators. And they tell us these crane operators actually is like a pilot, right? The crane itself costs about 100 million ringgit. Aircraft costs about the same. And these people have to be highly trained, highly disciplined, highly motivated to manage the crane at the port so that they can move containers, 30 containers within 1 hour. Okay, that is expected. So these are the major industries in Malaysia. You have seen, if you look, services industry at the top has changed quite significantly. That services industry, 601 billion. Okay, the third one is 254 billion is the manufacturing industry. It used to be manufacturing leading the way. Now it's services industry. And of course, our major products in the country still is palm oil, natural rubber, and oil and gas. And when we talk to industry, these are the top critical areas of skills needed, ranging from maintenance of system and control up to accounting and finance. So if you look, there is a diverse skills, from hard skills to some soft skills, people skills, technology skills, and business skills. A diverse 15 areas of skills needed in this country. And we also take note in preparing our what are the skills needed is this World Economic Forum, which lists in 2016, which lists the changing skill from 2015 to 2020 with complex problem-solving skill as the top in demand at the moment, and cognitive flexibility at number 10. People management skills, very, very important in one of the discussion just now. Emotional intelligence, coordinating with others, basically is people management skills. And how Malaysia is going to adapt to that? We actually have this, this is in Malay, but basically it says Higher Education Blueprint 2015-2025. But we can say that what success will look like. Every graduate will have relevant disciplinary knowledge, skills, ethic, morality, as well as appropriate behavior, mindsets, cultural and civilizational literacy to advance them to a higher level of personal well-being. So it's a mouthful thing, but we really try to measure and try to do it in the classroom. Okay, these are our aspiration to have a balanced graduates. Ethics and spirituality is very important to us. Ethics, very important. Leadership skills. We believe that everyone is a leader. They have to be an effective communicator. National identity, having a pride in the nation. Language proficiencies. Bahasa, because of nationhood. English as a medium of international communications, and of course we need to have one other additional global language. The trend is to be Mandarin or the Hindi or whatever that make us work in this region. And thinking skills and knowledge. So how we'll achieve this? How we will achieve this? These are our plan to enhance the student learning experience by expanding industry collaboration in the design and delivery of program. Number 2, which I will highlight, is devising an integrated cumulative grade point average CGPA system to assess students' holistic entrepreneurial and balanced development, and creating opportunities for students and academic staff to acquire entrepreneurial skills. So how does this translate into our skills that we needed, that learners needed? Those are knowledge, technical skills, humanity, research, innovation, soft skill, values, and multidisciplinary skills. And how do we assess them? Through learning outcomes, which consists of knowledge, the core skill, the technical skill, the soft skills and values and others, and we measure them with this ICGPA. This is implemented throughout the country with all the 37 polytechnics, 20 universities, 105 community colleges, and we measure them. We measure them, we impose on the lecturers to measure them. For example, these are the things: knowledge, practical skill, social skill and responsibility, values, attitudes, which is, I think the spelling is wrong. Okay, it's D, somewhere there. Attitudes. A person, someone from industry says, you know, if all things fail, you just send me the right student with the right attitude. That's good enough. You know, the right attitude, that's fair enough. And that's what they want, discipline, attitude. Think people who are hungry for jobs, hungry for knowledge, and this kind of thing. Professionalism, on time, communication, leadership, and team skill, problem-solving skill, scientific skill depends, yeah, but problem-solving skills. Lifelong learning skill that one of the table mentioned just now, how to manage knowledge, yes. Things are changing so fast nowadays, and these young people might not have the skill that they have in the classroom, might not be relevant by the time they graduate. So they have to do this. And of course, things like managerial and entrepreneurial skills, those are very, very important. So these are the way we measure it. For example, in the classroom, practical area, building online business presence for social skill, some of the activities that we do, for communication, for example, how the student communicate in a team for CSR project, solving real industry problem for final year, using programming skill to learn additive manufacturing, for example, developing a plan for business engineering plan. So those are my brief presentation. Thank you very much. The next, your question will be, how do we shape the education to meet diverse range of needs? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so again, we'll go to a discussion session, 10 minutes, really talking about a systemic approach to providing a skills base across either a nation or across a region. Okay, 10 minutes and we'll then cut. Thank you.
I think the format
Circulating.
Yes, yes.
it will work, yeah. When you come to
Your position
is what?
unavailable because you know,
Say the opposite.
you say the opposite. So this thing's not going to go.
But the main point that we're going to make is that we've both from two different lenses been defining the concept of a whole person.
Yes.
And a whole person is contestable. You cannot define a whole person. And can you? Yeah. Who are these perfect?
All right. Roughly on time. No. I can imagine. Very culturally different as well. Thank you. Management sometimes. One or two little topics coming through, I think, which people will. They're general. They have to be very general. All right.
Okay. When you say which one you want to see, can you say that we're the membership body for technical leadership?
Yeah, okay.
So I don't have to
Yeah.
labour the point about
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
get into.
Okay, colleagues. Another 10 minutes has passed. Time to break and go on to our final speaker for this session. So again, David Cork's going to come up. So David's from the Association of Colleges, which is the representative body for the technical colleges in the UK, just to give you more of his background. So 10-minute presentation from David, and then we'll break into another 10-minute discussion session around the tables. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my role is twofold here. The first part of my role is to act as an agent provocateur. So I might not believe quite everything that I say, but I'm going to sort of question some of the concepts of what we expect expect from young people. I'm going to be asking if we expect too much. I'm going to be also looking at the system structures that we have in England and ask whether they're developing the right skills or not. So firstly, the answer to this question, what skills do learners really need, the answer will differ depending on who you ask. Young people and parents, they will often say the skills to do or to get a job. So by doing a job, typically we mean an apprenticeship, or to get a decent job, maybe class-based learning. Employers will say the knowledge, the skills and behaviours to do a particular job, and they will also focus commonly on a broad range of customer service skills. Policymakers and governments, on the other hand, often make never-ending lists of the things that they want students to be able to do. And I've just been making a few lists of things from this morning. So think perfect numeracy and literacy, emotional intelligence, to be leaders, to be creative, to be multilingual, to have an entrepreneurial mindset, to have great employability skills, to have TED Talks level presentation skills, to be mindful, to be confident, to be good at exams. The list goes on, and I haven't even mentioned having a threshold level of occupational competence. I really want to question who these young people were, and like myself, if I urge you to look back at when you were 18, when you finished your initial education, or when you were 21, and think about what you were like then, how much you thought you knew about the world, and how much you actually knew about the world at the time. So, you know, what can we realistically expect from young people, and what can we realistically shoehorn into a limited amount of time and a limited number of years in terms of an educational program? So I think that some systems enable a good rounded skill set of both technical and interpersonal skills. I'm going to just give a little bit of a critique of the education system that we have in England and the system that we're moving towards, and make reference to a couple of international systems that I think are quite useful. So in England, we have what currently a market of qualifications, 14,000 qualifications that a young person can pick from ages 16 to 18. It's a bewildering range of qualifications. We're moving to a system that's much like the system that we have in Norway or Sweden, or Finland, where we have a more state-based qualification, closer to 95 qualifications rather than 14,000. And these systems are designed differently. So systems like the English system, it's currently built with an education logic. So it thinks about trying to build contestably a whole person. And everyone was talking about that just now, weren't they? We were trying to build the construct of what a whole person is, and I don't think it's an achievable thing, obviously. With the system like the German or Swiss system, and I'll make reference to the Swiss system quite a bit now, they have an employer logic. So they take occupational standards or job specifications and they design the system backwards from there. And that obviously has its own structural issues. When you're looking at a system with an employer logic, you're designing it based on the jobs that exist, not the jobs that are coming, not the near future jobs. So when we then start to look at what we're heading towards, we're definitely creating a binary divide. A system with an academic option where you can pick multiple subjects, then go to higher education and study a range of subjects. With the technical option, we have a 2-year model, but you make your choice again at 16. I think good systems allow us to defer choice, but good systems have good signals for which careers to go into. So we've reformed our system to have 15 technical routes, 11 of which are class-based and 4 of which are mainly apprenticeship-based. The system is designed to have to develop a set of knowledge, skills, and behaviours, and the system will have a common core and occupational specialisms. So the common core is the theoretical bit. So being able to pass exams, and the occupational specialism is like the practical skills. I'm really good at passing exams, but I have no practical skills whatsoever. If there was an apocalypse and we had to rebuild society, you wouldn't want me helping you build things because it would be disastrous. But I do really well in the tests. The programs also have long placements. They have compulsory English and maths components, and also almost license to practice elements. So these programs are becoming quite complex. They're trying to develop these contestably, again, a whole person, but they're becoming large and complex. And I think we're seeing this across many systems where we're seeing much greater complexity. Now, the problem I mentioned is that the skills are mapped to skills of the past, and these skills these systems will always be mapped to the skills of yesterday, and so we need to think about how we can allow for that. So we need to look at the Nordic systems. The Swiss system has an excellent intercompany program element. So what that does is that it's the bit that the qualification can't ever deliver. They deliver the broad foundation skills, and then the intercompany program is the bit that's not covered by the program specifications and develops the near future stuff. So, you know, if it was an IT qualification, you could have a component that was the fourth industrial revolution component. The qualifications are structured around knowledge, skills and behaviours, not just trying to meet qualification criteria as well. So I think we need to look to some international examples. So my question to you, can I introduce the question? is are we expecting too much of our learners? Are we trying to contestably develop? Two. No, we don't need 10 minutes then.
Very good. Okay, folks, this is going to be a real test. Try and keep this one down to 10 minutes as well. Okay, 10 minutes and we'll come back and we'll have a little bit of a discussion across the floor, pick up some key points from each of the sessions before we close. Thank you all very much. There's the opposite opinion, which is they don't like how it works, but that's a different thing. The real issue for me is the bigger gap for me is this generational change in attitude. I've been reading some reports recently about Gen Y, which we're just about coping with, we're just about understanding Generation Y. Although they're not interested in getting the best salary, they want to work for good employers. They want to have opportunities to develop. They want to do. The Gen Z going to be even worse. And the alphas, the ones that are just being bought now, we have no idea. No idea. And their brain's in a very different place. That's going to be very, very... You can put all this in, but if they don't want to do it, they won't do it. In Gen Y, they come to an employer, they think they're going to be there 3 years max and they're off. They're not coming for life. And that's global. That change is global. It's not something that's cultural, it's global. There you go. Yeah. That's going to be your comment. You can ask me, only teach you for one comment. So I'm going to ask you for one comment. Okay. Just one general comment. Right. Okay. So I'll ask you for one general comment. Okay.
Are you going to open to the table?
Yes, so I'm going to ask each of you for one comment.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask just people to make one or two comments before we finish.
All right. Okay.
About the teaching process
Yes.
and teacher skills.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay, colleagues, thank you all very much. We'll close the open discussions down there and we'll just go for the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes. We'll just take some points from the floor. We'll have a roaming mic and ask one or two people to make some comments. some observations of my own, and then I'll ask each of our speakers to make one comment from the observations from the discussions this afternoon. And I say we'll then open the floor and take one or two comments from people around the tables. Obviously, a big topic, a lot of debate. I think a lot of things which people have always recognised, but really still keep coming through. General recognition, of course, that whatever the skills are needed for today, they're not necessarily going to be the skills that are needed for tomorrow, and we need to ensure that we reflect that in terms of what we do. Obviously, what we actually want for learners is for them to have some core capabilities to enable them to go through life and actually be suitable for the purpose and in the time and the place where they are. And I think the other thing is that we always have to remember that there are three lenses focusing on this particular area: the educator, the employer, and the individual themselves. And that's going to be quite a key area to try and balance as we move forward. So I'll just now ask each of our three speakers to give a single comment in terms of their observation from each of the sessions, and then I'll open the floor, and if other people want to make a comment, please feel free to do that. So maybe if I start with you, David.
So from talking to... Is this one?
I don't know if it's on. Can that go on?
Hello. So
Yes,
from
it
talking to the tables, what was quite interesting there was that the question, are we asking too much of from our learners? Everybody fairly quickly said yes to that. But what was interesting actually was then talking in more detail to the tables. Everybody was saying that it wasn't particularly context bound, that what we were expecting seemed to be quite uniform across different areas and in different countries. So I thought that was quite interesting. But it led most tables to speak about whether we're expecting too much of our institutions, which is obviously an obvious follow-on question. And then one gentleman made a really insightful point, which was that education is often the mirror that we hold up to society. So it's no wonder that we try and do everything, that we try and boil the ocean, that we try and fix everything. So I just thought that would be a good point to finish on.
Very good. Thank you, David. Professor Aziz.
Okay. One of the comments that I like is in this time actually is uncertainty is the key words. Everything is uncertain. The students are uncertain whether the skills they have now is relevant by the time they graduate. So the key thing is to be adaptable and flexible in your outlook. So being flexible and adaptable in your outlook will help you to secure jobs, to create jobs for your own. Yeah.
Great.
Thank
Thank you very much. Dr. Lan? Yes. Tom? Yes.
Yeah, my comment is that I observed from the discussion, the concern is how to develop the high-level thinking skills during the teaching process. Those skills are argued to cross disciplines and to help the learners to continue further learning in the future and at their future work. And the process, looking at the teaching learning process at the university, with the teaching process there have a lot of pressure upon the learners in learning the knowledge, doing the exams, and it's not much about the modern proposed teaching methods, the student-centered approach. The teaching seems to be still teacher-focused approach. So that is my comment.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we'll now open to the floor. I'm sure some of you have got some general comments or even more specific comments that you'd like to make around the three discussions today. Who would like to make some comments? Please raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you to actually take that forward. Okay, over there. If you can say who you are and where you're from, that would be really useful.
Okay, my name is Hafiz Abubakar. I'm from Nigeria, from the National Universities Commission. Mine is just a request for clarification as I listen to this presentation and other presentations. Is there a difference between knowledge and skills? Or are the two in one, actually? Because I've been trying to actually figure out the difference between the base of universities as well as the, say, polytechnics and others that we used to know, actually. That line of division, that one is centered actually in creating and giving knowledge, and the other focusing on the development of skills. But as you listen to many other presentations, it appears that like the skills are taking over the place of knowledge. So I want a clarification so that I don't leave this conference confused.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you do leave not confused, then you'll be the only one. Fundamentally, David, do you want to have a go at that?
So if you take the UK system as an example, and you take the reforms that we're heading to, they define knowledge, skills and behaviour quite separately. In reality, and I think it's what you're alluding to, is they're not quite as separate as they appear. So the knowledge tends to relate to the theoretical elements, and if I take the topic that I used to teach in colleges and universities, computing, a theoretical piece of knowledge might be number systems or programming constructs, whereas in the practical element it might be how to maintain a Cisco router. With other topics like in construction and engineering, there is constant reification and movement between knowledge and skills. You're always constantly working, even in the world of art, where you're creating a sculpture. The ecology of skills is constantly refined, and theory and practice aren't ever completely separate, are they? But in the bluntest and crudest of terms, we define knowledge, and a body of knowledge is typically theoretical. Skills are normally exhibited through practice and through application.
I think just to add to that, I think one of the key elements around a university education, for example, though, is not about just providing the knowledge to the individuals. It's giving them the skills to be able to find knowledge for themselves, analyse that knowledge, understand that knowledge, and then apply that knowledge. And in the application, it might be a skill that they're using, but actually, fundamentally, it's all based around giving them the core competencies or capabilities to be able to work for themselves, whatever it happens to be.
And assessment plays a big part here, doesn't it? So with academic knowledge, if we take A-levels in the English system, you can get a pass by getting a grade E, and that's about 1.8% of people don't get a fail. But you're not hitting a threshold level of competence, are you? Whereas with a vocational qualification, you actually need to know a lot to get a pass, and only a little bit more, and a little bit more again to get a merit or a distinction. So it's not about the skill individually, it's about how the person meets a whole level of threshold competence for their occupation.
Okay, any other questions? With 1 minute to go. So far we've been doing really well. If we finish on time, it will be perfect. Excellent. Well, that means we've just got 30 seconds left for me to thank our three speakers. We can. And most of all, thank you all very much for your contributions as well. It was quite a lively discussion. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I got another reference. I can give you. Yeah. And also this money.